So we're here again at the North Europe International Film Festival. I'm joined by director and producer and writer Leonard Garner. He's brought his short film MMF to our project. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Nice
So tell us a little bit about the synopsis and story of MMF.
The story, well, it's a short film, only 10 minutes, but there's a lot happening, or at least a lot going on in those 10 minutes. We have a couple of 30-somethings who are doing a bit of a naughty thing. They're having a threesome with a younger guy who also happens to be black. Now this subject will pop up at various times because the film sees them sort of reviewing their experience, and they both seem very insecure about what's happened and how are we going to proceed and all that. And they seem to mask their insecurities with ironies and little quips and all that. And in the course of that, we're going to open up like a Pandora's box of social insecurities about homophobia, about racism, and soon everything will get very cringeworthy and embarrassing.
Very, yeah. Well, cringeworthy to kind of watch as well, because you're thinking, oh, I wasn't expecting that. You're obviously going into it, understanding what MMF stands for, you've got an idea. But then as it goes on, so the film focus is dialogue-led.
Very much so, very much so.
What freedom was given to the three actors, two men and the female involved?
I suppose any freedom there is. The whole film in its making was completely centered on the actors. We treated it very much like a stage play. So the only limitation they had was that the area we were shooting in was about the size of the area we're sitting in now.
Right.
They were at any point allowed to go wherever they want to go. They were also allowed to ad-lib, which they didn't much.
Right.
But they could have. And so what we had was this sort of creative tension in the room, because the cameraman didn't know what the people were going to do, and he also didn't know who'd be the most interesting of the two people involved. So he was really intuitive about that.
Right.
You know, because if they get anxious, the character might get up at
and
any given minute,
to a different...
and you will sort of sense that in the camera movement, that the cameraman thinks maybe he'll get up. So what I did, I tried to match the mood of the actors and the cameraman and sort of made them mesh in a very, very intuitive way.
Yeah, so that's something that
it's an unusual way of working.
Had you expected that, anticipated that, or was that, as you began the shoot, something which just developed and you had to...
Have I anticipated the method or the result? Because this is very different. So the purpose of making that film, you could say, was to try out this kind of working process, because it seemed right for me to do and it seemed fun to do. And when I looked for actors, I told them that we were going to do just about that, and that I had simply no clue whether this is going to turn into an intelligible result. So I literally promised them, I promise you that we will work hard and we will do this process and everything will be focused on you, but I don't promise you any result. I did say that. And they went for it. So this was very process-oriented. And the fact that it is being successful now is just, to me, a testament that people should do what they feel like, because this brings you possibly closer to what you're good at.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you've been able to now see, and obviously been a short film, this process which you've learned and developed and wanted to give a go at, are you now going to look to replicate that? Is this going to be your kind of stamp or...
Yes and no, because there is also the other kind of me who does dolly movements on tracks and maps things out, and I think the process is very good for getting intense performances, but it's also got its drawbacks. We had a huge waste of film material because I let them go, and I didn't want to interrupt them either.
Because you might have had a nugget of gold in there.
Exactly. I was not looking for perfection. I was looking for as many nuggets as possible.
Yeah.
And so I will use this process for certain very intimate, intense scenes that will fit that kind of gritty flavor, and for other more stately scenes I will use more stately things. So I don't think this process is flexible enough to sustain a full feature, but it's definitely enhanced my vocabulary, and it definitely encouraged myself to be myself in the way I work and not try to do things in a proper way, but do them in the way that seems right for the moment.
That makes sense. I think ultimately as well, so it's a controversial, cringy subject matter. This is, say, a passion project, but I think as well, albeit a short, there's a place for it in, I'm not saying necessarily commercially to that level, but do you agree that there's an audience that could see it if it's covering the LGBTQ kind of sexual?
It seems to be mostly embraced by the LGBT circuit, which I didn't anticipate. I didn't even, honestly, I haven't been to that many festivals, hadn't been before that film, so I didn't even know there was a circuit like that. I didn't know how these things work. I just thought, I'm going to do something that feels right to me, no matter what, and just throw it out there. And this is what happened. And I'm even a little bit surprised that the racism issue is not picked up as much on as the homophobia issue.
Yeah, and that's probably a bit actually what I would have taken from it as well.
I mean, if you ask me, it's neither. It's a love story to me. To me, this film is about intimacy. It's about two people not saying maybe saying what's on their mind, but not what's in their heart. But this is my interpretation. This is a very complex little scene that opens up many, many things.
Let's say thought-provoking, having watched it, and then even asking myself questions, thinking, oh, how would I feel in this situation? When the black gentleman walks out, was that planned as a case of that scene's happening, or was he able to walk from the bedroom where he'd been sleeping in whilst the couple had woken? Was he able to walk in at any time to then make it the three of them talking about chocolate, or?
You know, I don't know if I should say that, but you hear snoring sounds in the film.
Right.
Those are real snoring sounds, and I didn't add them in advance. So I think what we did was that there was a certain point in the story where he would walk in, so that wasn't random. He had a moment where he'd walk in. For the first half of the shoot, I didn't think he'd be walking in, I just focused on the first bit. And then for the latter half of the day, he could walk in at any time. Also, the ending of the film, as soon as he walks in, is way more improvised than the rest of the film is.
So it's three characters together then, isn't it?
Yeah, also, since it's the ending, it could go wherever it wants. There's more freedom even because I could do whatever felt right at the moment. So and Ahmad, who's not even an actor, he's just incredibly talented, and he was very good. He's a singer.
I was going to say musician, yeah.
He's a musician, and he's very good at improvising. So I just kept feeding him new lines, so the other characters didn't know what he was about to say.
Oh, brilliant!
The actors, and we had real situations happening there.
So their responses and reactions and expressions and emotions are manipulated by you, but natural on camera.
I think what I tried to do was that the creative atmosphere in the room got so intense that there was no more me and them and whatever. It was just this little circular vibe kind of thing going on, and everybody moving into it. Basically, nobody knew what he was doing, but everybody concentrated on what everybody else was doing. Therefore, everything made perfect sense together.
Makes sense to me. So the film's got three visible characters, but for me, and something we briefly discussed off air, but I've been keen to know more, the music which filled the gaps of dialogue was a huge character for me watching it. I know you've got a background in music.
I'm so glad you noticed that.
Intended, obviously, but tell us about that process.
The process of the music. I was trying, the music, the way it's being used is not something that's particular to this movie, but this is something I do in every movie I do, whether it fits the subject or not. You could say it's kind of like a career goal to fuse music and films closer together, because people keep saying it's a visual medium, and I don't think so. It's an audio-visual medium.
Yeah.
And I think the possibilities of music aren't explored enough. So there seems to be two main ways of going about music, and one is what they call Mickey Mousing, where the music comments everything that is being done,
dun, dun,
and sort
dun.
of, and yeah, like in a cartoon. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, exactly. And then you got the other bit, which is underscoring, where you maybe just put one big drone under a scene or something like that. Now, both of these processes have something in common. They both tell you how to feel about what's happening.
Yep.
And what I try to offer is sort of like a third alternative, which is maybe superficially closer to Mickey Mousing, because the guitar player in the film is improvising to what the actors are saying, and he's imitating the noises they make with the goal of sort of enhancing the emotion that is being conveyed. But what this leads to is that the music doesn't actually tell you how you're supposed to feel. It tells you how they feel.
Yeah, it makes sense. In a way similar to, like, say, a photo artist, where they're watching, say if it's an animation, they've got to make the splashes of the waves, and all these different artists you see making noise. You've got your musician. It's not set to, this is the sad scene, get ready for the violin. It's a case of, it's just harmonising with the way the characters.
Yes, it's playing along. Maybe it's like a Greek choir, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like a call and response. It's saying, that's right, yes, that's the way I feel. For example, right in the middle of the film, the music becomes a little bit menacing, because the male in the story is quite upset.
Yep.
But this is the point where nobody in the audience seems to be a menace. That's the point where people laugh the most, actually. So I have menacing music making people laugh. So this is the kind of interesting reaction we get from this sort of music. Now, you're one of the first to actually notice that, I must say. So I think this is just something I will have to keep doing over and over and over again until people
becomes your stamp, it becomes your MO, people are going to see and go, oh.
And maybe more people will do it, and maybe the art of cinema will become richer in the process. Maybe not.
Yeah, who knows? But the fact that you're experimenting and you're trying different things and you're putting your stamp on it. So we've discussed MMF. Tell us about your journey. Understand you've lived in lots of different places growing up, and your thought processes and the type of films and stories you want to tell and why. So there's about 12 questions there.
Yeah, that's a lot to pick up on. Let's start with something specific. Just give me anything specific so I have a starting point.
So you're based in Berlin?
I'm based in Berlin. I was born in Berlin, and I still am in Berlin, which is rare enough. I keep wanting to escape. Every once in a while the city gets on my nerves and I want to go someplace else, but I seem to return over and over again, so maybe I just belong there.
And when did you get inspired, or what got you into film?
Okay. There's so many. I'm trying to answer most of these 12 questions in one way, but there's so many ways to doing this. I will say this, that I've always had a knack for storytelling and performance, and there was never any doubt that I'd be some sort of performer or storyteller in some way. The question was, what is exactly the right thing for me? And I started out making films simply because I believed it to be the most superior art form, because it encompasses the others.
So many, yeah.
Now, what happened about 10 years ago, that was that my mother died of cancer, and I simply couldn't continue what I was doing at the time, so I had to do something completely else. And what also happened was that I lost all patience, because making films takes a long time and you're sort of working up for eternity, and maybe I will never live to see the results. But once you have somebody this close to you die, you will question the certainty of being alive tomorrow. So suddenly I got this urge, oh no, I gotta have results now. I gotta make art now, and it's gotta be quick and immediate. So instead I turned to music, and I moved to Manchester in order to make depressing Joy Division-like music. So this is what I did for about a year. And then I came back to my senses. I wasn't sad enough anymore.
Or you were ready, you'd had your...
I don't even know if I'm ready now, you know? I don't even know if there's such a thing. At least I try not to look at it that way, because that puts a lot of pressure and doubt on me. I prefer to be open-minded and keep going as I go. So after that, I did more stage work, which was mostly as an actor, but also as an author and director, which was very good school to me, because I would write the story, and then I would see it performed, and I get an audience reaction immediately. I see as soon as they get bored, they go like this. So, and then I go, okay, we got to shorten this scene a little bit and play it differently tomorrow and see how it works. So this was like a lab to me.
Yes.
And you could say that during this whole time I was also working on films, only very slowly. I don't even know why I'm this slow. I haven't figured out today. Maybe I take it too seriously. Maybe that's what it is.
Or the fact that you're perfecting the method. You're perfecting a method rather than being slapdash about it, perhaps.
Well, this method, now this seems like I was thinking about a method all along, which is not the way it was. The way it was that I thought, oh, I could be somebody like Murnau, I could be someone like Werner Herzog or somebody like that. And I was really conscious about what I was trying to achieve, what way my films are supposed to be like, what way they are supposed to be worked. The result was that I didn't enjoy the process at all. It was hell to me. I really didn't like making films. And I was about to quit. So the only chance was for me to find a way that I enjoy working.
Right.
And that was the main goal for this film that you've been watching now, was to have fun. Actually, I made this a rule. I am not going to do any single step in the working process that is not fun. I'm not going to work with any person that is not pleasant. Every single thing needs to be enjoyable. Nice. This was the supreme rule. And I say focusing everything on the actors is a result of that rule, because that's always been the thing I enjoy the most. I love the people, I love the intimacy, I love rehearsing, I love exploring a scene and seeing what comes out, and also to
breaking it down,
and also to be surprised by what people give me. I don't want to know what the film is going to be like. Of course, in the end, when I see it, I will not be surprised. But it will still feel fresh to me.
Because you're breaking it down into each segment and just having fun with it. And at the end, it is a resulting project which, you can just look at,
You could say it's roughly the way I pictured it, but it has little surprises and details that I didn't anticipate, and this is the way I want. I don't want to go all Hitchcock on things. This would seem like a huge strain to me.
That
not
makes
worth
sense.
doing.
So what's next for you? Obviously you're now travelling around Europe with MMF, but what's the plans for?
Next for me or next for you?
Next
because
for you.
I've got the film that is about to follow up, MMF, featuring the same female lead, already finished. It's been finished a long time ago, actually. It's just waiting to be published. So that will be the next thing that you hear from me.
Brilliant.
But this is not what I'm working on right now, because when you're a filmmaker, you're always very removed from the present. Now the film we're discussing has been made 3 years ago, and I'm a different person now. but we're still talking about it, which
Yeah.
is part of the fun. But it's also a little bit of the curse if you're accustomed to the immediate gratification of stage work. I was going to say that too, that I'm still sort of drawn between those two. Maybe this is why I'm still flirting with music, because I'm drawn to the immediacy of the live performance, which is the only thing that films do not have, and I wish they did.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for a way to give films this. I would love to mix all media up. But now to your direct question is, I am writing a horror film, a gothic drama, which also has elements of a teenage coming-of-age love story, actually. It's very unusual.
Quite a hybrid, yeah.
This is quite a hybrid, but again, back to I'm doing what seems right to me, what comes up.
Don't please anyone else.
It's about two sisters in a cursed family, and they've both lost their mother, and they're about to lose their grandmother, and their dad is not able to cope with these things. Now, very dramatic, dark stuff.
Yep.
But remember that these are two young people, and they also want to live and date and see boys and have a good time. So the film is to a large degree about this sort of ambivalence, the darkness and the light, the fun and the scariness.
Yeah.
So you could say it's a horror film made in that MMF way, which is also strange and fun and weird and humorous.
Yeah, just bring in different aspects of it. So you're solely responsible for the writing of this project, are you?
In this one, I am solely responsible for the writing. I'm not solely responsible for the development, because there's a good friend of mine who is also the editor of MMF, who sort of, maybe he gave birth to the thing a little bit, because he said something like, I wish there was something like that. And he keeps reading my script and giving me feedback. So maybe it's like a muse kind of thing, actually.
Yeah, just bring them together.
But at this stage, I'm the one writing it. Yeah.
Look forward to seeing how that develops. Leonard, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And hope you continue to enjoy the rest of your time in London and
I'll do my best.
wherever your work takes you. Thank you.